Sources out there are saying that Dwight Howard is willing to sit out the rest of the season and the playoffs if Stan Van Gundy remains the Magic head coach. All right, you're closest to if this is true, Jamel, whose side are you on?
I can't be on Dwight Howard's side. I'm not completely on Stan Van Gundy's side either, because I realize in the NBA, let's just face facts. Players versus coach. When you have superstar player versus a coach, the superstar is always going to win, and probably should when you look at organizational priorities. They built that brand new arena in downtown Orlando based off Dwight Howard. He's the one bringing millions of dollars in interest to downtown Orlando, so you have to ultimately side with him. But I think he's wrong here, and I think he's on the verge of completely crushing the legacy that he's built. The reports almost make it sound as if, and I don't know how serious his injury it is, but it's almost sort of characterized in the vein that Dwight Howard maybe could play, but perhaps if it's a 50-50 call, he's going to choose to sit out of the playoffs. This isn't a team that isn't going anywhere. This is a team that has beaten some pretty good teams this year, and when they play well, they are hard to beat. And so for him to say, again, if it's true, for it to even be out there that he might just sit just because of this little beef with Stan Van Gundy, I think that's reprehensible. I can't be on the side of someone who ultimately may be quitting on their team. And that's what he's doing. This little coach riff, it's beneath Dwight Howard. Okay. And Stan Van Gundy said it right. We don't have to love each other to sit here and try to win a championship, and I don't think he does. So while I'm not completely on the side of Stan Van Gundy, because I know the organization has to make a decision and go with their coach, to be on Dwight Howard's side, I just can't co-sign that kind of behavior and attitude.
Okay, then I'll just do it by myself.
Yeah, you will.
I'll be on Dwight Howard's side. I may be the only one on his side right now, and I'm not the biggest Dwight Howard fan, as we all know on this show. I've been hard on him as a player, but in this case, I think he's dead right. Even though he is being perceived as the dead wrong villain in this. He's taken a huge PR hit. And can we go so far as to saying he's quitting on the Magic right now?
I don't know if we can say that, because we don't know. I mean, we can't sit up here and guess what his injury is. And a herniated disc is a serious injury.
I would not blame him right now for quitting on that.
You wouldn't blame him for quitting?
I would not.
Okay.
This is no little beef. This is no little coach riff. You know and I know this has been building for years, and Stan started it to me because he was hard on Dwight. He was dismissive of Dwight in public. He was sarcastic toward Dwight repeatedly, and Dwight didn't like it. It rubbed him the wrong way, and he said so. He just didn't like the way he was being publicly treated by the coach. And whose side you're on there, I just know he didn't like it. So what happens? He's thinking about going to New Jersey. And what did they do? The front office, the owner, goes to him and says, "What can we do, Dwight? We'll do anything to keep you." And you live there.
Yeah,
so how bad did that city want Dwight to stay?
Very bad.
Very, very. This was end of the world if we lose Dwight Howard. So they're asking Dwight, "What can we do? Would you like us to replace Stan next year? Would that make you happier?" And I'm pretty sure Dwight said, "Honestly, yeah, it would." But it wasn't a demand on his part. They were asking him, "Can we do this?" Because I think they were already thinking about replacing Stan Van Gundy. Is that fair?
Well, they were probably thinking about it based off how their biggest star, that relationship.
Right.
They're basing it just off that.
So it would be an obvious perk. It'd be it would be an obvious concession to Dwight. Let's just clear the air here. Let's clean the slate. Let's start over with a new coach. Not that he's going to get to pick the coach, but anybody but Stan would be better for Dwight than Stan would be.
Well, he admitted in that interview with Hannah Storm that he had called for Stan Van Gundy's job, not this season, but in years past.
But he said it before.
There.
No, but I mean, he's been very public about he just doesn't get along with him. He doesn't like him. He doesn't like his style. Mm-hmm. The GM didn't like his style. Otis Smith told Stan, tone it down this year.
Right.
Cut the sideline antics, all the, "Oh, my God," when they miss a free throw, when Dwight misses, Stan's like, "Oh, it's all this don't blame me, blame the team" kind of an attitude that I don't like in a coach. I would be offended if I were a player.
If that's the case, then why is it that every player in that locker room, other than Dwight Howard, gets along fine with Stan Van Gundy?
I don't know if that's true.
Well, I think at times, I'm not saying he hasn't rubbed players wrong before, but Jameer Nelson loves to play for Stan Van Gundy. Ryan Anderson, they love to play for Stan Van Gundy. This is about one guy.
Stan loves Jameer.
Yeah,
more than I think a lot of coaches would love
But this is about one guy who, quite frankly, doesn't have the credibility to pull off this kind of coup. He just doesn't, and that's what this is about. Is that people look at Dwight Howard. They know he's not a leader, so you're going to torpedo your coach when.
Wait, hold on. One key piece to the puzzle here. The coach torpedoed him publicly.
Oh.
This is an all-time Bush League move. Stan goes public with somebody.
So
in
it
the
wasn't
front
Bush
office.
League for Dwight Howard to ask for his job and then act like everything is all cool in his face?
Okay, you're just
I mean, that's
trying
not
to
even
get
being a
through-
man. Are
yeah,
you
but
serious?
You're trying to get through the rest of the year. I don't blame you for doing that.
All he said.
They told him, we will go in another direction next year. Make the best of this year. Otis is asking Dwight, if you stay, please make the best of this year. So what's Dwight supposed to do? I got him fired. Remember, the first report came from Chris Broussard.
Right.
Okay, it wasn't Dwight saying, I got him fired. No, Chris reported that was part of the deal of keeping Dwight, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so then the coach goes public with it and humiliates Dwight, who walks into the hornet's nest naively of the little interview session that we kept seeing.
He also answered a question. That question was addressed to Stan Van Gundy, and he answered it, but he also qualified it by saying, basically, he doesn't have to like me for us to win.
Okay, so
yeah, I know he did it, but he doesn't have to like
so
me.
if the coach rolls on you, are you going to just
But
suck
Dwight
it up
Howard
and play?
rolled on him a long time ago,
Okay.
and after a certain point, Skip, you get tired of
Okay,
that.
but the coach basically said, fire me. Like that's a fireable offense to put that out there in public with the playoffs approaching. Like you say, they're a viable playoff team. They could have made some noise in the playoffs with Dwight.
With Dwight.
Yeah, with Dwight. Okay, so once the coach crosses the line and goes public with it.
After
which I
his
thought was-
star has already crossed the line,
Hey, but
by
it
the
wasn't
way.
public. It wasn't public. It
If
wasn't
he
out
went
there.
behind his back and told his boss that he
Okay,
found
he
out
didn't-
about it,
wait,
it doesn't
wait,
matter if it's public or
No,
private.
well, that's where we differ. I don't think he went behind back. I think they came to him and said, what can we do to keep you?
Yeah, well,
Is that
he's-
going behind the coach's back?
He started complaining about that a while ago. As we mentioned, this has been a buildup.
Okay.
That wasn't necessarily new, that the report, everyone knows that Dwight has had problems with Stan. And my issue is that if you're going to pull that move, you can't be shocked if somebody responds the way that Stan Van Gundy responded.
So if you're Dwight Howard right now and that coach rolls on you in public, you want to play for him in the playoffs? No.
Well, what do you owe your team, right? You're supposed to be a team guy, right?
I know, but
what about the rest of the team?
The coach is blowing it up. He started it. It's like a coach
I think he
mutiny.
finished it. I don't think he started
But
it.
you're not suggesting that he's sitting out just in boycott of Stan Van
I don't
Gundy.
know. I don't know.
But you're
It
saying
has
if
the
he
appearance of that.
was, then you wouldn't blame him if he did. Is that what
I
you're
would
saying?
not blame him.
You wouldn't blame
I think
him?
the coach, when you roll on a guy like that, it's like over. And in fact, what I said on the show the next day, Otis Smith needs to fire Stan right now. I think he was begging to be fired. Just elevate whoever, Patrick Ewing. let him coach
There
the
we
playoffs.
will agree in the sense that I think the bigger issue is how Orlando's management handled this.
Yeah.
If they saw this kind of rift, you're right. The easiest solution would have been to just fire Stan Van Gundy and just start
I mean,
anew.
seriously, maybe Dwight wouldn't be hurt right now if that had been done.